Hello and welcome. This is Donovan Blackburn, and I welcome you to the City Manager's Report. Today we have a couple of guests that we're going to be talking about commercial air service. First up is Luke Schmidt with LB Schmidt and Associates from the great city of Louisville, Kentucky. Luke, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And then also we have Kenny Rambo. Kenny, we'll let you kind of give your own profile and explain why you're here and how you're partnering with this great opportunity that we just announced today.
That'll be great.
Well, first of all, let's lead off. Today was a historical day in the great city of Pikeville, Pike County, and for the entire region. Luke, why don't you give us a little update on what's going on and what's happening with this new launch today?
Well, today was a big day and a really historic day, I think, for this community. And after 3 years of a lot of hard work, which you've been involved with, along with Bill Hickman and Jared Arnett and many other folks, we were able to formally announce the new commercial air service here in Pikeville. And not only that, we brought the airplane in for an unveiling with the new name of the service, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the new logo. So yeah, this was a great day, and we're glad to get to this point.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, obviously, is not only the event, but the naming of the logo. And today we had a couple of special guests on stage. We
had Governor Steve Beshear and Congressman Hal Rogers, both of whom played a very, very instrumental role in helping us get to this point to where we could launch the service. Obviously, the community was successful about 2 years ago in securing a USDOT Small Community Air Service Development Grant in the amount of $750,000. Which Congressman Rogers obviously helped move through the process, along with over 100 business leaders and community leaders in this area that wrote letters of support for the grant. So this was a great opportunity to say thank you to him. And then on the state side, Governor Steve Beshear brought a lot of leadership to the table to assist us in getting what totaled into a $670,000 grant from the state, also to help launch the service. And because of those two grants, we were able to actually sign contracts, as you know, about a month or so ago. And so the good news is we have signed contracts, we have a provider, we have a company that's going to sell the tickets, we've got a willing community to use the service. And so today was really a day of celebration to bring the plane in and unveil the new name, which we're going to call this Appalachian. I always want to say Appalachian, and some say Appalachian, so correct me.
We understand both sides of it, so feel free.
Okay, I'll call it Appalachian Air.
Okay.
And so we had the lettering put on the aircraft as well as the new logo. And Kenny, who is with Heartland Communications Consultants out of Elizabethtown, represents the company that has now entered into a contract with the city, right, and working with the chamber to develop the promotional campaign, and he's going to talk about that in a minute. But let me tell just a little bit more about the service, and then I think we'll talk more about the PR. The service, which again was announced today, we're going to start with one daily round trip from here to Nashville. The departing flight out of Pikeville will leave around 6:30 in the morning every day, Monday through Sunday. The return flight will come back from Nashville, arriving about 7:25 in the evening. And of course, there's an hour time difference between here and Nashville. Flying time is about an hour and 15, hour 20 minutes, nonstop each way. And then once passengers arrive in Nashville, the plane will taxi up to a gate in the main terminal. The passengers will have gone through a security screening here in Pikeville, just like in Lexington or Charleston, the TSA kind of screening. So in Nashville, they'll arrive at a gate in a sterile area. They will literally walk a short walk to make their connecting flight, and they will have their choice of 9 airlines that serve Nashville that provide nonstop service to 50 different markets. Almost all of the 23 of the top 25 business destinations from this region are served nonstop out of Nashville. So the nice thing is you can get on the plane here at 6:30 in the morning, make a brief stop in Nashville, be in Los Angeles by 12:10 p.m.
Well, absolutely, and it's the plane was, as you mentioned earlier, revealed today. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about the actual plane itself.
Sure. It's a British Aerospace Jetstream J31, and it is a fantastic high-performance turboprop. It seats 19 passengers. It has a stand-up cabin. It cruises at 265 miles an hour, can cruise as high as 25,000 feet, although the flight from here to Nashville is relatively short, so it probably won't go that high. It's pressurized, and as I mentioned, it's high performance. It actually outclimbs the DC-9 on takeoff, so it really gets up and gets going.
Wow.
And unlike a lot of planes in this class, this aircraft, in most cases, will have an onboard lavatory, which is kind of nice. And all leather interior, very comfortable, just a perfect size plane for this market. And I think people will like it.
Well, great. Well, before we get into the actual contracts, because I want to talk about that for just a moment, and actually how we're partnered now with Kenny and his company, but there's some other components that still have to take place, and part of one of the pieces of negotiating a contract with the provider, as you know, Luke, is that not only was the funding provided as a subsidy through the federal government and the state government with the support of the congressman and the governor, but there was also a local commitment by the airport board. And explain, if you don't mind, because I want to explain to those that are viewing where we're heading with this, because there's also some things that are going to have to actually happen here at the airport. And after a recent visit, I think that our partners were extremely delighted and surprised by some of the facilities. So if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the local commitment and where the airport itself is actually heading.
Right. Well, there was always a question because the airport terminal, which we're actually sitting in today, was built and really was designed for general aviation purposes. It was not designed for commercial service of any kind and type. And so we always had a bit of a question in the back of our minds, would we be able to reconfigure this general aviation building into more of a passenger service type of building? And I'm not an architect. I always kind of thought, well, maybe we could knock a wall down here or move a wall there and make it happen. When we did our first site visit with our partners from Corporate Flight Management and Public Charters, and of course you were a part of that, Bill Hickman with the airport board, and we walked all around the facility and we took a look, and we found that fortunately the building, the way it's presently configured, will actually work very well. And the room that we're sitting in here at this point, which is kind of I would call it an auxiliary room for the current purposes, it's really not used very much. We found that there is enough room in here to put a ticket counter, a baggage check-in area, a nice passenger waiting area with access to the restrooms, and then plus, even because it's a kind of a rectangular shape, there will be enough room for the TSA to put their screening equipment in at the end, and so that people, when it's time to board the plane, will all go through security at the same time. They'll walk through a magnetometer. Their carry-on luggage will be X-rayed, just like in Lexington. And then they'll walk through a designated walkway out to the ramp and board the plane, and they'll go. The good news is we really won't have to knock any walls down. We'll have to do a little bit of cosmetic work, but not much. And we're going to end up not spending nearly as much money to accommodate these folks as we had possibly anticipated. That's good news.
Well, and as a matter again of record, just so that the viewing audience will be aware, is that Senator Jones and Representative Combs had also allocated about $200,000 in coal severance single county funds. Unfortunately, in the state of the economy right now, the coal severance dollars aren't there, and based upon the priority of those funds, we will not be able to receive them. So the part of the negotiation of the contract with the airport board and their approval of the utilization of this facility was to replenish up to that $200,000 to ensure that any capital improvements were needed, as you just mentioned. There would be funding available to do so.
Right.
But after the site visit, we were very pleasantly surprised to feel that very little, we feel like at this point, very little of those funds will have to be actually expended.
Yeah, as I recall, and we still don't have the exact dollar figure, but we had budgeted up to about $200,000 in potential capital expenses, and it looks like we can do it now for about 30, and that's a whole lot less than $200,000. So that's certainly good news. And again, this is a great building. I mean, even though it wasn't designed specifically for this purpose, it's open enough that we can use it for this purpose and at least get the service launched. And the best problem we could have is that so many people want to fly out of here that we end up adding flights, and if it gets a little congested and a little crowded, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But that, like I say, that would be a great problem to have.
Well, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Let me step back just a little bit and talk a little bit about the contracts, and then we'll kind of come back in a moment just to discuss the air service itself a little bit more in detail. But as you're aware, over the past 3 years, the partners at the table have been the Pike County Southeast Chamber of Commerce. Their name has changed over the years, so I still get tongue-tied with that a little bit. But the Southeast Chamber, led by over 300 businesses. Jared Arnett has been a great partner in creating this initiative. The airport board, Bill Hickman as the chairman of the board, and of course the city of Pikeville, the commission asking me to step into that role as well. So over the past 3 years, with the endorsement of each one of those organizations, we have been able to go out and not only secure a provider and a partner, which generated basically 4 contracts. A contract with the airport itself,
Right.
For the utilization of the facility, a contract with the city for the expenditure of the funds, a contract also with the marketing group that we'll talk about in a moment, and then also a more of a resolution of the hiring of the chamber on behalf of the city to work with the marketing firm in order to make the decisions that are necessary in order to to shed light up on the service and to move it forward. All those contracts are executed, along with the memorandums of agreement with the federal dollars, the $750,000, along with the memorandums of agreement with the Department for Local Government and the Department of Aviation through the Transportation Cabinet. So all the components have been executed, signed off on, and everything is now in a really nice bow. So we're moving forward. And one of the things that we haven't discussed yet, but the actual launch date of this service, today was a celebration. The actual utilization of the service will actually launch on March 3rd, 2014 is when folks will be able to fly. So with all that said, I'm frequently stopped now on the street, people excited about this, asking, when can I buy a ticket? What is going to happen? What is the process? How do I find out what you're offering? What's the cost? Is there, and we've talked over the several months and years about there's additional savings that will take place by you coming local. So with all that said, and we'll talk about those additional savings here in a moment, just Luke. Kenny, I want to bring you into the picture a little bit.
Great.
And Luke introduced your company. The city signed and executed a contract with your company, and as our marketing, we put out a request for an RFP, an RFQ for your services. We had several folks that submitted what their capabilities were, and after the chamber and the city reviewed, that contract was awarded to a local Kentucky, we'll call you local Kentucky company.
Absolutely.
To do what we're asking to be done. So if you don't mind, just kind of give us a little spill on your company and why you're in the picture now as a partner of all this.
Sure. Well, first, let me just say thank you for having us today. The event was absolutely first class, and it's really a privilege to be here to celebrate what I think will go down as a very significant day in the life of the Southeast Kentucky region. As Luke mentioned, I am part of a firm called Heartland Communication Consultants. We're a full-service marketing firm that's based in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, but we have a footprint that stretches across the state and really out to some other places in the country where we've been involved with branding, marketing strategy, as well as public relations for a wide variety of clients. And our work to date on this project has involved applying a brand concept to the name Appalachian Air. And we have successfully accomplished that with an approved logo that we're very excited about. It was unveiled during today's event. It was actually on the aircraft, which was a very exciting moment for our team. It's not every day that you see your work on the tail of an aircraft, but that's what we've been up to. And we're very excited about what that logo communicates. It matches up, obviously, with the brand AppalachianAir.com. The URL, AppalachianAir.com, which I'll share some details on in just a moment. But the logo relies on a color scheme that is becoming synonymous with economic development, growth, and prosperity in the region. It subtly hints to the majesty of the mountains here in Pikeville, that anyone that opts to fly will get to enjoy with a completely new vantage point. And there's upward movement in the logo that does a couple of things for us. One, we wanted to convey the convenience and the ease of which people will be able to really travel wherever they would like. by selecting to fly locally. But then the other thing that we want to convey there is just the growth and progress that it really stands to open up for the region. So those are the things that have gone on with the logo. In addition to that, along with today's event, a new website has been launched. Anyone that is interested can now successfully browse to AppalachianAir.com. At that URL, they'll be able to kind of keep up with the updates, those conversations that folks have been stopping you to have on the street. We want them to stop and have those conversations online. And very quickly, they can sign up by sharing their email address to receive regular updates as additional information becomes available about the launch of the service, when tickets are available, and those sorts of things. But right now, there's great details out there about today's event. There's a frequently asked questions section that is posted, and there's some details that are shared about the aircraft as well. So we'd invite anyone that's interested in this project and looking forward to taking advantage of the service to begin now by visiting AppalachianAir.com, and we'll likely be following that with some social channels as well. And through that email list, we'll be inviting folks to like us on Facebook and follow along and keep up with information, all the great ways that we do nowadays.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, which was a unique process for us as well, and I've been involved in previous companies in branding, and again, it was a great job. The representation of what it means behind just the picture. You've explained it very well. I got to hear this last week.
Great.
But it was a kind of a fun process for the locals also, that we, as Luke can tell you, mulling over what the name would be. Because understanding that this service is not just servicing the people of Kentucky, the people of Pikeville, or the people of Pike County. It is truly a regional service. And being on the West Virginia line, it was to illustrate that we are the people of the Appalachian region. So that name was important to those of us, Luke, that sat down and tried to determine, to narrow it down to what we did want to call this.
Right.
So again, I congratulate you and your company on an outstanding job. Luke, your thoughts on the branding?
Well, I think it's absolutely taken off literally about as quickly as it could. And normally, as you know, there was a really good brainstorming session here in the community, I guess a couple of weeks ago, where a number of folks got together and really kicked around a lot of different names and possible ways to call the company and what to call the service. And my understanding clearly was that every time it kept coming back to the region, it kept coming back to, we want to reference the Central Appalachian or Appalachian region that we live in, or that you all live in, and
you're one of us now.
I feel like it, and I think that's really good. And the name, it's an easy name to remember. It's easy to say. It doesn't have 800 syllables, and it's not hard to spell. And so I think that's good. And the way that Kenny and his colleagues have taken the name and have branded it, and really very quickly, I might add. I've been involved with other clients and other projects putting logos and branding together, and this was by far the fastest job we ever did to try to make this deadline. But I will say it came together very, very well. And we have a great color scheme. We have a great logo, a good name. I think that really speaks to the service, speaks to the region it serves. And I think over time that people in this area will be very comfortable to say, yeah, I'm going to catch an Appalachian air flight today or tomorrow to go on vacation or go make my meeting in Chicago or whatever the case may be.
Well, and to spin off of that, that was part of the discussion is that the name was not only for something for us to identify and be proud of, but it was also, as a marketing piece, something to advertise to let people know where they're coming to. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about our people having the convenience of flying out. It's also about creating an opportunity and bringing people in. Because what's happened over the past 10 years especially, that I've got to witness in the capacity that I'm in, is that the trend is reversing, and there are hurdles that we are facing right now with job loss. And there are opportunities that we need to continue to explore, but this is a great tool, this service, to allow us to do that. But we also need to focus to make sure that we're marketing ourselves to offer the amenities, which are our people, are what the good Lord has given us, which is a lot of beauty, And I'll go as far as to even push it to tourism and the medical profession and education, because again, over the last 10 years, what we've seen is a major shift. And when I was growing up in the region, if we wanted a particular service, we had to get in the car, and we had to drive to places like Kingsport and Charleston and Johnson City and Lexington and Louisville and Ashland. And what's happening now is that trend is reversing. We've now got people that are coming here to go to our university, coming here to utilize our medical facilities, and so forth and so on. So this is another great opportunity for the people of this region to have another tool in their toolbox to utilize to create economic development. And with that said, a big part of that toolbox and economic development is being seen. And so a great marketing plan is extremely important. All the elbow grease has gone into creating the contracts and creating the money, but I came through the retail ranks. And what I used to tell my staff is that you can have the prettiest store in the whole region, but if you don't go in and turn the lights on, nobody will see it. And that's what marketing is the ability of turning the lights on to the region and letting them see what you've been able to accomplish and achieve, and how it adds value to their business, person, or whatever. So you've talked to us a little bit, Kenny, about the website, the updates. What is the next step from here? Once you're going to update us, and is there going to be marketing plans? And we talked about a scheme to educate people on the savings through the ticket price that we need to go into a little bit. So kind of tell us what the next steps are past this point.
There will be a plan that will kind of be fleshed out along with our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be sitting down to really kind of start to define the messaging around the service. What are the important things that the individual that might want to travel for personal reasons or for business reasons, why they should take advantage of this new air service. And we'll be working, as I said, with the partners of the Chamber to start to define that message. And then we'll be looking at a plan that defines how can we really get that message out there, turn the lights on with as many folks around the region as possible. And we'll be looking at ways to accomplish that through traditional media, broadcast, print, and otherwise, as well as looking how we can leverage new media around the website, social media, things of that nature, to keep people informed, not only that the service exists, but why it is of benefit to them. One of the areas that we'll want to convey that around is just the savings of traveling locally in terms of money and time, the benefit of being able to come through the convenience of the terminal here and quickly be in Nashville and then connect to some 50 other one-stop destinations at that point. So really kind of defining what those key benefits are will be our next step, and then we'll be working on leveraging various medias to tell that story to a broad audience in order to ultimately have people buying tickets.
And as the chairman of the airport board kindly put it today, and I love this speech today, but if those that were able to catch the program today on Pike TV, his delivery was very simple, and it was buy tickets.
It may be the only message we need.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well,
Bill was the only one that could deliver it that way.
Well,
yeah.
Definitely so. And Bill's got a very unique way about him. He's a very intelligent man, very forward-thinking, very honest individual that's created a lot of opportunity here at the airport. In his reign, the mayor installed him a few years back as his appointment. And there's been $4.5 million in improvements that's been spent on this facility, which makes today possible. So now let's, in talking about some of the components that you're looking at, there are some savings that will come out of this that people need to be thinking of, because it's not just a convenience, but it's also the not having to park a vehicle and
Right.
the travel time and all the other components.
Well, you're going to have free parking right off the bat. That's going to save a lot of people a lot of money, because if you fly out of Lexington or Charleston, if you're gone 4 or 5 days, you're going to come back and your parking bill is going to be 40 or 50 bucks at least. And if you're running late and you park in short term, it's going to be more. But on the other hand, here, I think really what we're going to be selling here is convenience. The short check-in line, the short security processing line. It's not going to be like a big airport where you're hundreds of people in front of you or hundreds of people behind you. You will literally be able to process through this in probably 8 to 10 minutes. And when people really see that and experience it, I think they're really going to like the fact that they can park at the door, not have to pay for parking, walk in, check their bag, sit down for a few minutes, and then when it's time, walk through the security line and get through very, very quickly. And then get on the plane, and it's, again, because it's a smaller airplane, it doesn't take long to board. And then once everybody's on, out the door you go. And the Nashville airport, similarly, is not a huge airport, and it's not in Atlanta, it's not a Chicago, where you might literally have a 20 to 30 minute walk from one gate to another, maybe a different terminal, maybe take an underground train. Again, in Nashville, it's a nice size. You can probably walk from the furthest gates in probably 8 to 10 minutes at the most. And they've just gone through a pretty significant renovation down there. They've added some new restaurants, and it's actually, I think, the only airport in the country that has live music, understandably. So if you have a few minutes, you can probably take in a future country music star and listen to him or her and find out what's coming down. So it's one of the things we're going to do on the website that Kenny and I have talked about is, we've seen this in other airport websites. We're going to have what's called a trip cost calculator on the site, and it's going to be pretty neat because we'll put in all of the surrounding county seats like Whitesburg and Letcher County and Prestonsburg and Floyd County, as well as Pikeville, and the website will be able to compare the total trip cost for flying out of here versus the other regional commercial airports like Lexington or Charleston, Huntington, Tri-Cities. And then it will take into account, if you, let's say you're from Whitesburg and you want to know what the total trip cost is going to be, you can put in your airfare and then you can put in where you're driving from, and it'll automatically calculate the cost of driving to all 4 of those airports. Plus it'll figure out the cost to park, which that'll be a big zero here, and then the cost of the airfare and the cost of your time, the value of your time. And we think in most instances you're going to find that it will cost less to fly out of here. And I mean, there will be a few times probably it may be less expensive somewhere else, but hopefully in most cases it'll be, that should be the case here.
And I don't think that time factor can be understated because, you know, in reality with the time change between here and Nashville, the question that folks will be asking themselves is, if I could drive to the Nashville airport in 20 minutes, is that where I would fly from? And that's what this service is delivering.
Another way to look at it, the flight from here to Nashville is roughly an hour and 15 minutes. And so you get on the plane, you fly an hour and 15 minutes. Now just imagine if you had started your trip from here to Lexington to the Lexington airport, an hour and 15 minutes from here, you're on the other side of Salyerville. You've still got a ways to go, but you're going to connect and you're on your way. You're going to get to your destination in most cases a lot faster.
Great. Well, there's a lot happening. It was a great event today, an event of celebration. We're again officially launching this service here at the Pike County Regional Airport on March the 3rd. You know, in the infamous words of Bill Hickman, buy tickets.
Buy tickets.
Well, Luke, Kenny, we appreciate you coming on the show today and kind of giving everybody a view of what's coming down the pike. But Kenny, one more time, what's the website that folks can log on to?
Invite folks to visit AppalachianAir.com.
Great. Well, you heard it, folks. Log on, see what's going on, and buy tickets. We appreciate you coming in. We appreciate you viewing the City Manager's Report. Folks, have a great day.